Well, welcome to this week's Phoenix News, exclusively here on Phoenix TV. And as you can see, this week we're in the Ice Dome. It's junior training night on Thursday night as we record these brief notes ahead of a very, very important weekend for the Manchester Phoenix. Saturday, Phoenix travel north of the border once again, second game in a fortnight. They've gone to Edinburgh, the capital of Bonnie, Scotland, Tony Hand's hometown. But a place where the Manchester Phoenix are most definitely going in on Saturday with the intention of coming away with just one thing. Well, actually two things, 2 points. It's a very, very important game for the Manchester Phoenix because it's tightened up a little bit at the bottom. Hull Stingrays took a point on Wednesday night in their game against the Newcastle Vipers, and that just closed the gap and put a little bit of pressure on the Phoenix ahead of the weekend. So it will be a good rest on Friday night for the players, and then the early bus on Saturday morning up to Edinburgh for that very, very important game. And the team news as of Thursday night is Scott Bazic is 85% certain to make a return to the lineup on Saturday against Edinburgh. Joe Tolari is 90% certain to make a return to the lineup on Saturday against Edinburgh. And he's been saying it all season long that he wanted to be back in the Phoenix lineup ahead of Christmas. There is about a 60% chance that Matt Rich will play his first competitive game on Saturday in Edinburgh as well. And that would be a very poignant return for Matt, because obviously he's from Glasgow, so he'd like nothing more than to stick one over on the Edinburgh Capitals on Saturday night. Well, then, of course, it's Sunday night, and it's back here to the Silverblades Ice Dome in Altrincham, and it's a very important game against the Basingstoke Bison. Bison, who've already been here twice this year, and rather annoyingly from our point of view, have both times skated away with the points. So it's Steve Thornton being the main thorn in the Phoenix side whenever we play the Basingstoke Bison. Again, it very simply is another must-win game for the Manchester Phoenix. And in training on Thursday, Coach Tony Hand told the team in no uncertain terms that it was a 4-point weekend that he's looking for this weekend. A road win in Edinburgh and then back here against the Basingstoke Bison. 4 points on the weekend could do the Phoenix cause no end of good. It would also just put us at the top of that little bit of the second pack, shall we say, in the BMI Baby Elite League standings. So that's it for the Phoenix. We've got that big weekend, and hopefully, fingers crossed everybody, we won't just have Scott Bazic back, we won't just have Joe Tolari back, but we could also have Matt Rich back, and that is very important because it gives us that extra depth on the roster that we've been lacking in recent weeks when results have gone against us. And it's not because of any loss of form, it's not because of any loss of fitness, it's simply because of the lack of depth that we have in our squad. And that's through no fault of our own. We've done everything right this season. We've recruited a strong squad, and we've recruited a strong squad within the budget of the BMI Baby Elite League and, of course, within the budgets of the Manchester Phoenix. Other teams have gone elsewhere on the budget, shall we say, and well, obviously they've had the run of the play, whereas we haven't. So hopefully, all being well, Scott, Joe and Matt back in the lineup, and everything will go swimmingly for the Manchester Phoenix this weekend. Now, elsewhere around the BMI Baby Elite League, well, it's been a very quiet week actually since last weekend, other than the fact that the suspected terrible injury to Carlisle Lewis in Belfast. You may remember that he took an injury in Edinburgh last weekend where it was suspected that he possibly had had an artery in his leg cut by a skate going across his leg. Well, it's not as bad as was first thought, and Carlisle Lewis is expected to be back in action certainly by the new year, if not before. But ahead of Carlisle Lewis picking up that injury, the Belfast Giants had released Troy Newmeyer, obviously well known to ice hockey fans in Manchester for his sterling work over the years with the Manchester Storm. Troy Newmeyer was bitterly disappointed to be released by the Belfast Giants. I can tell you, I spoke to him personally, and he really was not a happy Teddy at all about the decision by the Giants. But he's accepted it because that's the kind of guy he is, and he's moved on. And he has signed for the Coventry Blaze, believe it or not. The Blaze have iced just 4 defencemen since the loss of Roman Undur earlier in the season, and Troy Newmeyer has now joined them, certainly in the short term, possibly in the long term. I guess that will depend on performances and, of course, on the other injuries that the Coventry Blaze are dealing with at the moment. Sylvain Cloutier, their inspirational captain, went into hospital on Monday for his hernia operation, that could still see him out of the Coventry Blaze lineup for between 4 to 6 weeks. And Curtis Huppy is not expected back ahead of the new year. He's got a broken finger. As I said earlier, elsewhere around the BMI Baby Elite League this week, it has actually been pretty quiet. Not a lot of gossip, not even a lot of rumour, not even a lot of conjecture going on. I think it's probably a little bit of pre-Christmas lull, shall we say, with 2 weekends to go before the festivities. And don't forget, for the Manchester Phoenix, we've got 2 double headers over Christmas. Immediately before Christmas, we've got a home and home series against the Cardiff Devils, and then immediately after Christmas, on Boxing Day and the day after that, we're home and home against the Mobile X Newcastle Vipers, and those certainly promise to be 4 massive games for the Phoenix. There'll be plenty of physical contact in those games, and well, they should be a joy to behold, that's for sure, particularly if Phoenix are at full strength. Other than that, the only disappointing news within hockey in the UK at this minute in time is the situation in Bracknell, where the owners in Bracknell have pulled out of the Bees, and it's kind of left the Bracknell Bees club in something of a limbo. Bees coached this year by another former hockey star in Manchester, Dwight Parrish, and speaking to Dwight just a couple of weeks ago, he was expressing some concerns about the financial situation down in Bracknell, but he was hopeful that everything would be resolved satisfactorily, and let's hope so, because Dwight's a good old boy, and the Bracknell Bees, well, we've no axe to grind with the Bracknell Bees now that they're playing in the English Premier League, so let's hope that everything works out well for Dwight and everyone down in Bracknell, because we know, we've all been there when we've lost a hockey club. Let's hope that that isn't another one that is going to go by the wayside. That's about it for this roundup here on Phoenix TV News. As you can see, we've got juniors on the ice here in the Silver Blades Ice Dome, and in just a little while they're going to be joined by some of the Phoenix Elite League squad coming down to lend a hand and give a few tips to the youngsters, and no doubt our erstwhile Match Night Entertainment Director Richard Allen will catch up with them and catch a few words of wisdom from some of the senior players. But that's it for me at this moment in time. I thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you again at the weekend. Cheers.